your emotion when you sit and listen to players like this, and Rio talks about, you know, the decline, going to QPR, back injuries, not playing as much, Joe with his knee injury. You know, you were in your prime and your career ended like that. It stopped mid-game. It's very, very different experience to these two. How have you come to terms with it now?
I think it's one of those, I'm sure, as ex-footballers, I mean, regardless if you retire at 35 or 25, you'll always miss it. It's something that I've been used to doing my whole life. From a 7-year-old, I was at Tottenham. I come through the ranks there and made it into the first team, and I was expecting to get another 10, 12 years out of my career. But like you say, that was unfortunately taken away from me. It's something that I'll just have to live with. It's something I have to accept and try and be positive and take other opportunities, because my last game was a 25-year-old, and like these guys played till they were 35, 36, 37. So I've got a head start in my career in that after football life. So it's something that I'm keen to make the most of.
And you physically could do it tomorrow. You could go, you know, you might not be match fit obviously, but you could go out and play. The issue for you is heading the ball. Do you allow yourself to go there mentally that you could still play football, or have you just sort of turned that off now?
I still dream about it.
Yeah.
Some mornings I wake up and I've had a dream that I'm playing at Tottenham, scoring a goal, stuff like that. It's something that, like I say, it's never going to leave me. It's a strange one, because usually when you retire, it's through injury at an early age, and you're not able to physically be able to do things. But mine's my head, so I'm physically fine. I can run. I can have a kick about. I just can't head a ball. So in some aspects, that's more difficult, because I look at games and think I can actually physically play. But the other side of it, I'm still young. I'm enthusiastic. I'm coaching, and I can join in. I can take part in certain things, and I'm sure that's good for the young boys, because like I'm back at Tottenham. I'm at a club where I come through the ranks. I walk the steps that they did. So it's good for them that they can see me firsthand and hopefully take things and learn from that.
And it's also a club where you're still held in absolute high esteem. This is actually what Mauricio Pochettino had to say after the game today. Have a listen.
And I want to say hello all the people on there.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course Ryan Mason, that always miss. He was one of the most important player in my career, like a manager. And yes, happy to see him there, and always learning from him on the training ground every day.
Lovely. You had a great relationship, and you still do.
Yeah, he's someone that I bonded with straight away. He was my manager, but more than that, we had a relationship outside of football, and we're still very close. He's a top man. I mean, he's done a great job there. He's welcomed me back, and I'm lucky that I'm in and around the club, and I'm learning from one of the best young managers in the world.
After the injury, was your mentality all about getting back to playing?
Yes, it had to be. Obviously, I'd had challenges in my career, like all footballers do. You have obstacles that you need to overcome, and initially it was just a challenge to get back fit. It took some time. I was almost 100% sure that I'd get back on the football pitch. It was just a matter of when. But I had some scans, and some issues showed up with the brain that wasn't possible. You know, I'd be putting my health, my life at risk if I was to step onto a football pitch. So it made the decision a lot easier. When someone says certain things about the brain and your health. So it's just one of those things. It happened, and like I say, I have to accept it and move on.
So just explain the sort of physical element. So you had a big operation, didn't you, not long after the injury on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, it was 61 minutes after the clash of heads. There was bleeding on the brain. The brain itself got dented, it got damaged. I was quite fortunate enough to be close to a top hospital, because I went unresponsive when I got to the hospital, and within minutes I was being operated on.
You went straight to a head trauma hospital, didn't
yes,
you? And you think that if they'd have taken you to the nearest hospital, it could have been very different.
The doctor, he knew that I fractured my skull. He knew that it was very serious. Whereas some people in the ambulance, they wanted me to go to the hospital closest to be scanned. But if I did that, I would have lost valuable time. So I was very lucky that I was operated on 61 minutes after the incident, and luckily for me, I'm here now. I'm healthy, and that probably all goes back to the fact that the bleed on the brain was managed so quickly.
And what are they? You got ahead of plates and screws and all sorts.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of footballers have operations. I've got like 14 metal plates in my skull, so it was a big operation. It was a nasty collision. It was a naughty fracture as well. So I mean, I have to look at it from that point of view. That I'm healthy. I'm here. So it's a positive thing.
When they saw those scans, what was their issue?
There was plenty of issues, to be honest.
Right.
Like I say, the damage on the brain initially, because it was such an impact that the brain itself got dented. So there was always the worry of my memory loss and whether or not I'd be able to walk and function properly. And luckily for me, over time, I got my strength back, and after about 3 or 4 months of being completely bedbound, I was able to walk again and then run. And it was just a case of regaining my strength and getting back to living a normal life, to be honest.
And it was the dent that made them think this guy shouldn't be heading footballs for a living. That was the issue, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, initially all the scans were on the skull, because there was holes and gaps in the skull that needed to fuse together. But the last scan I had in February, the problems with the brain come alight, and I mean, it was a straightforward decision after that. It was pretty clear that I couldn't play on.
When we sit here and we talk about the disappointment of losing your football career, you listen to Ryan's story, it could have been an awful lot worse than just losing his career.
Yeah, and you have to praise and thank that the medics were there and they made the right decisions, as Ryan said. And I think it's a sense of like, well, I was lucky to get where I got in my career. In some senses, it's a physical sport in some aspects, and there are injuries. And as players, we go into it and we all understand this. There's going to be moments in your career when you're injured. You don't quite believe that you're going to have to finish the game at a young age that Ryan has, unfortunately. But you understand that at points in your career, there are going to be times when you're going to have time out. You have to be injured. You could break bones, and that's living day in day out in football. But again, to hear such a traumatic and very, very crazy injury, really, something that wasn't normally seen. It was freakish, really. So it's again, to see him here speaking so eloquently and coaching now the youngsters and passing on what he's achieved and what he's done in football is great to see.